My name is Dale Dymkoski, and I'm playing the role of Billy in Tribes. Billy is a deaf young man who was born and raised in a family of fully hearing people who, for their own reasons, chose to bring Billy up as hearing and not teach him sign language or send him to a deaf school. Which was not unlike my upbringing. I was born with a hearing loss. I was diagnosed at the age of 3, so we don't know if I was born with it or if it came on from an early illness, but I was diagnosed with what's called a moderately severe sensory neural bilateral hearing loss, which basically means I have about a 60% loss of hearing in both ears. It was very important. My parents wanted me to be quote-unquote normal. Made sure that I sat in the front of the class at school. I played sports. It's interesting, there's a new commercial out right now because the Seattle Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, and there's a deaf player on the Seahawks. It's a Duracell battery commercial because Duracell makes hearing aid batteries. And it shows this guy as a young pee-wee football player, getting ready in the locker room, and he's taping his hearing aids to his ear with athletic tape. And I was like, that's exactly what I used to do. So I did things like played football, and I played sports, and I played baseball, and that wasn't a sport that was really, where it mattered too much that I wore the hearing aids because we wore a batting helmet. And but yeah, it was very important that for my parents that I was fully integrated into the rest of the world. But how I relate to Billy is that I wasn't quite, I didn't quite fit in. There was always something different about me. And because in the old days, with the way hearing aids were, where it would amplify all the sound, I could be in a room full of people having a conversation and not totally be part of that conversation. So I was always a sort of a step removed. And, it just affected the way I, perceived the world and how I grew up. But I didn't learn sign growing up. I wasn't ever really a part of the deaf community. It was more like, my experience was more like, let's ignore that you have that and make believe that you don't have that obstacle, I'll call it, and go out into the real world and do it anyway. I took sort of I would say, an unusual path to where I am today. I was an athlete growing up, like all-state football, baseball, played baseball in college. But I always had a little, performance streak in me. I do think that comes from, like I said, being a little bit different, with my hearing. I just related to the world a little bit differently, and I was very introspective. I would read a lot and write a lot, and so it was always, the bug was always sort of in me. But I didn't fully realize it until after college. I applied to law school. I went to New York, and I worked in a law firm for a little bit. And then it dawned on me that I didn't really want to become a lawyer as much as I wanted to be on LA law. It has been quite a challenge. It's funny because when I first auditioned for this part, I worked with my acting coach in LA. We put it on tape. And I came home, and I was like, I think I'm the worst actor ever. There's no chance that I'm ever going to get this part. So it's just pretty fascinating how, just kind of an aside, my perception of how I felt about it and where I am today. But in terms of process, yeah, I didn't grow up learning signs, so this has been, we call it acting boot camp. It's literally, I wake up in the morning. It's not only am I learning lines, there's a speech impediment, there's dialect, it's British dialect, and then there's sign language. The sign language actually comes fairly naturally, I think, to actors, and I think that there's a degree of performance that is in sign language because so much of it has to do with expression and just communicating your feelings. So the signs, most of them make perfect sense. Most of them relate. You can make, there's like a visual cue that you have in your head of what a sign means, and so it sticks pretty easily. It's, I think, easier than learning a spoken language in that way. On its face, yeah, it's a play about a deaf main character and two deaf main characters. But the theme is larger. I think that it could be anything. It's about difference. It's about accepting differences. It's about just finding one's own voice, and it happens for all the characters in the play to a certain extent. And it's about I think accepting people's choice to live and be and communicate how they wish to do it. And there's no right or wrong, and no one can judge anybody's way of doing it. Because we're very sensitive, I think, in this production of, how we portray the deaf, how we talk about the deaf community, but every person's experience is their own experience. And no two people's hearing loss and speech development is the same. Every person's experience is unique.